Pledge of Allegiance, please remain standing because that will be followed by a moment of reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll have the reading of the notice, please.
The adjourned organizational meeting of the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, composed of 38 members, will convene at the Marathon County Courthouse Assembly Room, 500 Forest Street, Wausau, on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020 at 7 p.m., and the agenda was duly signed and posted.
Thank you. I would like to request any guests in the audience and supervisors to please silence their cell phones or put any other electronic devices on vibrate or silent, please, as to not interrupt the meeting. And we will proceed with roll call.
Beestrom. Okay. Boots.
Aye.
Book. Butke.
Here.
Christensen. Seiler.
Here.
Conway.
Here.
Dickinson.
Here.
Drabeck.
Here.
Pfeifrick.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Gaber. Gibbs.
Here.
Gonnering.
Here.
Gums. Harris. Jacobson. Johnson. Krause. Lamont.
Here.
Longenhan.
Here.
Leahy. Lowe. Mask. McEwen.
Here.
Oberbeck.
Here.
Opal.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Rosenberg.
Here.
Schley.
Here.
Seefelt.
Here.
Soibert.
Here.
Stark.
Here.
Van Cray. Vole. Wagner.
Here.
Zhang.
Here.
Supervisor Gums, are you there?
I am here, Supervisor Gaber.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't get online.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Additionally, we have one additional call-in user that has joined the meeting. Could you please identify yourself so we can put a name to the face? We've identified it as Supervisor Gaber. Thank you, Supervisor Gaber. I'd like to welcome all of the visitors that we have with us this evening, also including the viewing audience. And we will move on to the consent agenda, items 7B through 12B1. And there was a question on Thursday's meeting in regards to the Environmental Resources Committee's recommendation on a denial on a rezone. And we had clarification from the town that that property is not, the rezone is not consistent with their comp plan. The town has contracted with North Central Regional Planning to update their comp plan, and that update is going to start to take place in January. So but one of the requirements for the zoning committee to approve a rezone is that it be consistent with the comp plan. And so in this case, since it's inconsistent, they're recommending denial by this board. So we have items, again, consent agenda items B, 7 through 12B1. What is the board's pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Christensen and seconded by Vice Chair McEwen. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Supervisor Beestrom, did you wish to speak? Your hand is raised on the screen.
No, I just unmuted my.
Thank you, Supervisor Beestrom. Any discussion on the consent agenda items? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve consent agenda items B 7 through 12B1 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried, thank you. And we will move on to item resolutions. Item C, 13C, approve 2020 budget transfers for Marathon County Department of Appropriations, Resolution 46-20. This does require a 2/3 majority vote. What is the pleasure of the board?
Supervisor Zhang with a motion.
Supervisor Zhang with a motion, Supervisor Mask with the second. Any discussion on the budget transfers for Marathon County? Again, Resolution 46-20. Because this does require a 2/3 majority vote, we will do a roll call, and I would ask the clerk at this point to call the roll.
Beestrom,
Yes.
Boots, Supervisor Boots?
Aye.
Thank you. Book? Yes. Butke?
Yes.
Christensen? Aye. Seiler?
Aye.
Conway?
Yes.
Dickinson?
Aye.
Drabeck?
Yes.
Pfeifrick?
Yes.
Fisher?
Aye.
Gaber?
Yes. Aye.
Gibbs?
Aye.
Gonnering?
Aye.
Guild? Gums? Harris?
Aye.
Jacobson?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Krause?
Aye.
Lamont?
Aye.
Longenhan?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Mask?
Yes.
McEwen?
Yes.
Oberbeck?
Aye.
Opal?
Aye.
Robinson?
Aye.
Rosenberg?
Yes.
Schley?
Aye.
Seefeld?
Yes.
Soibert?
Yes.
Stark?
Aye.
Van Cray?
Yes.
Bull? Wagner?
Aye.
Zhang?
Aye.
Thank you.
And the motion carries. On to item D, County Board of Supervisors under Rule 2.01, Parent 3, Parent B, creating a nonpartisan procedure for preparation of state legislature and congressional redistricting plans, Resolution 48-20. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Mask, second by Supervisor Leahy. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wrote some of my thoughts down after last week's meeting, just because I tend to think better and and speak better when I have some time to put everything inside my brain on paper. So thanks for your time. This is a board that respects process. We trust that our colleagues are putting in the work at the committee level. We trust our dedicated staff to help us. We follow Robert's Rules of Order and our own board rules that we vote on at the beginning of each term. We recognize that fair representation for our constituents starts with the representatives themselves adhering to the same set of governing rules. This is a board made up of 38 people who are acutely aware that a big part of our job is to represent other people. We talk about representation all the time. At the start of this term, we had a lengthy and necessary discussion about how fortunate we are to have a diverse group of supervisors and how diverse representation allows us to better serve our county. At meetings, supervisors often mention how constituent contact affects their thought process or final decisions. We tell each other how many emails we receive about this topic or how many voicemails about that topic. This resolution is a confirmation of ideals we already put into practice at the county level and a statement of support to our constituents that we believe in fair representation at every level of government. As a county board, we are inherently linked to our state government, and it is our right and privilege to address our state representatives with resolutions such as this. In our last term, for example, we passed a similar non-binding resolution expressing our wish for more funding for road maintenance. We sent that message to our partisan state officials. Did that mean we were suddenly a partisan entity ourselves? No, of course not. I don't believe that argument was even mentioned. We were simply using a tool available to us to reach our state reps. In last Thursday's meeting, it was mentioned that there are other topics we should be talking about instead of nonpartisan redistricting. Infrastructure, public safety, the local economy, unemployment as related to the pandemic. And I agree, we should be talking about those issues, and in most cases, those are ongoing conversations. But I do feel some clarification is in order. Number one, in June, the board was set to discuss 2 pandemic-related agenda items, but both items were pulled from their respective meeting agendas by the chair. We're waiting on further guidance from the WCA and the HHS committee to move forward. Number 2, the fact that we're discussing this resolution tonight has nothing to do with why we're not talking about another issue. This resolution did not bump a different agenda item out of an imaginary time slot. Changes by the chair notwithstanding, this board is ultimately responsible for setting the agenda through our continuous work. If we want to talk about something, we can actively choose to do so. I want to make sure we're not misleading the public regarding the agenda process. Number 3, spending time discussing this resolution is not a dereliction of state-mandated duties. Thinking critically and talking transparently about the very bedrock of the work we do is never a waste of time. As tonight's meeting has shown, and others before it, this board is capable of discussing extra issues as they arise while simultaneously taking care of our mandated policy work. As stewards of Marathon County's tax dollars, we tend to think of everything in terms of dollars and cents, and it's easy to start thinking about our board meetings in the same way. Every minute that we spend in this chamber, you could argue, is a minute that the lights are on, security staff is standing by, etc. But boiling down our time together in that way is antithetical to the board's purpose. I'd hate to think that any supervisor was self-censoring their participation in an attempt to adhere to a non-existent time clock or meeting budget. And frankly, I think we need to give our constituents a little more credit. They're smart enough to see the difference between actual government waste and their representatives engaging in meaningful conversation about an issue that's important to them. And if my inbox is any indication, nonpartisan redistricting is important to our county residents. As many supervisors have already stated, local government does not exist in a bubble. The decisions we make in Marathon County are absolutely impacted by decisions made at the state and federal level. And if we're not considering the big picture, then we're doing our constituents a disservice. Not to mention, we're avoiding reality. Recognizing this reality does not make us a partisan board. Supporting a nonpartisan solution to a partisan problem of our state legislature's making also does not make us a partisan board. I know it sounds nice to be able to respond to complicated questions with, sorry, this is technically not our problem. Talk to your state reps. But we can take a stance on this issue of nonpartisan redistricting, and I think the people who elected us into these seats deserve that much at least. Marathon County can't directly fix the issue of partisan drawn districts, but we can try to do our part with the powers we do have. Small steps taken collectively can lead to big things. This resolution, an official statement from Marathon County, will join 51 other Wisconsin counties who have already lent their voices in support of nonpartisan redistricting. They've done so not only on behalf of their own constituents, but on behalf of ours too, and we can return the favor. I urge my fellow supervisors to vote yes to support a nonpartisan process for fair representation. Thank you to Supervisor Harris for drafting this resolution and for providing such thorough research. Your efforts are appreciated and your passion is inspiring. And thank you to Supervisor Mask for co-sponsoring this resolution's journey to the full board. I know you like to choose your words carefully, and I really appreciate that you chose to speak about this. Thank you, everyone.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Mask.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to say that I'm proud to support this resolution, and I thank Supervisor Harris for bringing it forward, and to many others who've spoke to the value of fair redistricting on Thursday. So I won't repeat any of that here, but I just wanted to say that for the first time, I have gotten phone calls and emails that were all positive. I never received one negative communication from anyone, including people not in my district. So there's a reason why people in Marathon County want this passed, and there's also a reason why so many other counties have supported fair redistricting. So I will finish with saying that historically, as a body, our county board has always strived to take the high road. We need to avoid the appearance of or perception of partisanship. So let's do the right thing and pass this tonight. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Krause.
Yes, I'd like to ask what kind of democracy many of our board members and the constituents would like to have. We have to decide on whether we want biased redistricting or do we want fair redistricting. You may go to your constituents after you vote on this issue and find out whether they approve of your voting for fair redistricting or not. I'm assuming that those who are voting think that their vote counts and that there is no bias in regards to political party or parties. So when you vote for this or against this, you will be representing the people in your district on whether you think we should have fair maps or not. And I'd like to just to mention that from AARP, I got some information about data from Databank USA. Wisconsin was one of the highest states for voting percentage-wise in the 2018 midterm election. Nationwide, the turnout was 50%. In Wisconsin, it was 61.4%. Minnesota's was very close, 64.2%. Iowa's was 57.9%, and Michigan's was 57.7%. That was higher than the national average, which was 50%. I'd also like to read a quote that I found in AARP. It says, the late Congresswoman Barbara Jordan once said, quote, what people want is very simple. They want an America as good as its promise, unquote. Ronald Reagan put it another way. He said that, quote, good citizenship and defending democracy means living up to the ideals and values that make this country great, unquote. Isn't it right that one vote, your vote means as much as another person's vote and is not lessened or made into extreme by districting. And then I would like to read also from the resolution, R 4820, be it further resolved that the Marathon County Board of Supervisors strongly urges the Wisconsin legislative and executive branches to work together to enact bipartisan legislation that would create a fair and nonpartisan process for drawing legislative and congressional redistricting plans, as well as promote more accountability and transparency in the redistricting process. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Supervisor Robinson. Supervisor Robinson is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not comfortable always taking action on issues before other governmental bodies that affect their process. However, I'm concerned about what's happened in the past and what happened 10 years ago when an outside consultant was hired to frame the maps, and it was done in a secretive manner that excluded the public from participation and did not allow for a meaningful debate on the outcome. That is not representative government, and it undermines democratic principles in a Republican form of government. The process being proposed is not ideal, but it is much more fair and more ideal than the present system that we're using. People across Wisconsin have expressed their concerns, with over 70% of the population weighing in support of doing things in a different manner. This resolution calls upon our elected officials to work together on a process of drawing lines and fulfilling their constitutional responsibility of apportioning the state for elected representation. Citizens have weighed in on this issue, but have felt as if people in Madison are not listening. Therefore, they're coming to us and asking us to weigh in, to add our voice to the call for a fair process by which elected officials are selected. I encourage you to vote yes.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Book. Could you use a microphone, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman
you.
Gibbs. I have one comment. I find it incredibly difficult, even foolhardy and responsible, to vote yes for a resolution that specifies nothing as to its plan except that it's intended to be nonpartisan. In this current culture, I'm not sure even what that means. I will be voting no.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to correct two of my errors from last Thursday. First one was that I said that 52 counties have passed this. It's actually only 51. And the second error I had is I concluded that it was illogical not to support this, but that's not exactly accurate. I mean, there are plenty of reasons to support this resolution. If you believe in a sense of inherent fairness, if you believe that politics have become too partisan as a result of the way our districts are drawn, that's another logical reason to do it. And if you have just a belief that we need to hold them to the same ideal that we hold this county board to, I'm very proud of the way this board operates in a nonpartisan way, because we all bring different political philosophies into this room, but we all have the same goal, which is to get the best result for the county. And that's something I'm very proud of, and I think all the other supervisors should be as well. I think what we're asking for, or looking for, is that same level of commitment out of our state officials. And hopefully we can get there. Now, as to my error saying it was totally illogical to oppose this, there is one reason I can think of, and I could only come up with one, to not support a fair and nonpartisan system. You know, and it saddens me to say this, but the only reason I could come up with is that you like the results. And I hope that's not the sole basis for people's vote here. I hope that, I see this as a positive thing for the state. It'll get more people involved. And we're not out on a limb here. The WCA and 51 other counties have passed it. So I urge a yes vote, and thank you for your time, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Dickinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The main reason I would say that I would be voting no for this is that I simply don't believe that redistricting is a policy issue that the county board has responsibility over and should be commenting on. I do reject the notion, however you want to put it, about not being fair or being illogical or not, whatever, however you want to interject it. It has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with partisan politics on my part, or I can only speak for me. I'm simply don't believe that this is something that our county board should be involved with at this time in this way. I can also comment to say I've had people speak to me personally that they don't believe that this is something we should be involved with. So there are other people besides those who have emailed us that don't agree. So those residents matter as well. Thank you.
And anybody else? Any other discussion?
Supervisor Gibbs, I'm on my phone because I can't get online. Could I speak?
Supervisor Gaber is recognized, and Supervisor Harris will be next.
First of all, I agree with what the supervisor just said. I don't believe this is something we really need to get involved with right now. It should be the state that should be involved with this. I have my constituents, and I know there is a supervisors that are pushing me to give my emails, but they have said to me that they don't agree with this. With that being said, I really think that we should discuss with Marathon County if they believe in this or not. For us to, but right now, I think we have bigger fish to fry. I think I said that last Thursday night with the $5 million deficit we have. And with that being said, I will vote no. Thank you.
Supervisor Harris is next.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to say, talking to as well a lot of young people, there are generations coming up after us, and a lot of those are disillusioned with politics. And a lot of them feel that if we can't even make a statement that we believe in fairness, that we believe in working together, that we believe in accountability and transparency, where are we as a board? Where are we as a country? We will be leaving this country in the hands of the young people coming up. And we ought to be able to say that we speak for the values which built our country. We share the same values, I would think, in terms of democracy, in terms of voting, in terms of making sure that every person here is valued and that their vote counts. That's what the resolution stands for. It doesn't knock down anybody. It doesn't attack any party. It simply says that the system right now is not working and that we can at least aspire to a better system that offers fair representation, that calls on our leaders in state government to work together, both parties. And so that's what I was calling for. And so I ask that people, when they make this decision, think about that. I also want to say that it does kind of sting a little bit when people say that we shouldn't waste our time with this. I believe that everybody has the right to hear that's on the county board to bring forth resolutions and other resolutions and other bills that they think, initiatives that they think are in the best interest of their constituents. I brought this forward not only because I believe in it, but because I've had constituents, as I've shown you, that have contacted me about it. And my first duty on the board, the first duty that I wanted to do when I got on this board, as not having been a politician, I like to call myself a public servant, is serve the public's interest. I can't think of any way better than to serve the public than by giving them, making sure that their voice is heard, making sure that their votes count. We've had COVID-19 happen. We had those long lines, so we see that voting is very important to people here. Shouldn't we ensure that those votes are fairly represented, that everybody's vote count, that we believe in the basic principle of one person, one vote? Again, I didn't come here to start some partisan political battle or whatever. My resolution doesn't offer that or say that. And I would just ask that if you make your decision, however you make your decision, please just respect the fact that I came here and presented it from a genuine place. I like to think of myself as not some person that comes here. I'm not here to stir up trouble or do anything like that. I'm here to represent the people that elected me. I'm here to represent my neighbors, my friends, my colleagues, and I'm here to make sure that the values that we believe in, that this board states that they believe in, that those are upheld. And I believe that at a minimum, I can stand up proudly and say that I support any resolution that calls for accountability, transparency, truth in politics, and fairness. And I hope you will too. Thank you all for your consideration, and thank you all, whichever way you vote, for considering this.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, this is Supervisor Langenhahn.
Supervisor Langenhahn is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did want to speak on this issue tonight, especially after I had communicated with one of my constituents in my district. So and I think that it probably would be appropriate for myself to get my thoughts out as well. So I do agree with fair maps in theory. I mean, I believe that everyone should have a level playing field to participate in the democratic process. However, I do disagree with what's in front of the board tonight. If this issue is important, and I believe it is, I believe that it should be the people themselves communicating their preferences to the state legislature. I can't support 38 members sending this to the legislature. I mean, I support a message from the people of Marathon County to the legislature as opposed to the 38. I could see a referendum as a much more practical means to further this resolution's mission rather than just 38 people calling in or sitting at the courthouse this evening. Now, one can argue that, you know, we are part of representative government. We represent those people in our districts. However, I think the people in Madison are going to be thinking of the 38 people present at the meeting this evening. I don't believe that communicates the message of fair maps at all. Overall, I'm not going to support this, not because of the reasons that were communicated already earlier this evening, but just because I don't think that this resolution is the right tool for the job. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Vice Chair McEwen, we will go
Supervisor
to...
Stark? Supervisor Stark,
Vice Chair McEwen is recognized, and then Supervisor Stark will be next. We will give every supervisor an opportunity to address the board before we return to individuals who've already had an opportunity. Vice Chair McEwen is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This issue, to me, is a no-win issue. And I don't mean that in a negative way or a positive way. If you read the resolution, like I said on Thursday, I'm surprised that only 72% of the people favored fair voting, fair maps. I think it should be 100%. However, I did get 13 emails. 11 of them were encouraging myself to vote for it, and 2 were against, and 2 letters. But one of the emails that was one of the ones that opposed it hit the issue that I had with it last Thursday. Nonpartisan. There's no such thing. I mean, I'm sorry. That's my opinion, and people can disagree with me, and I agree with a lot of things that Supervisor Johnson mentioned. However, not voting for this means I don't want a fair map or a fair election. That would be ridiculous. But like I said, nonpartisan and accountability is what I have an issue with. And when I say nonpartisan, we have some nonpartisan commissions and boards in the state. The Ethics Commission is a nonpartisan. I don't know if you received an email from one of the constituents that I received one from about this, brought this point up. I wasn't aware of it. I'm not that familiar with the Ethics Committee. But it was appointed by senators and assemblymen on both sides. It was supposed to be nonpartisan, but if you read some of the comments from some of the one of the commissioners particularly, it's definitely, there's no nonpartisan there. And that's fine. That person has a right to their opinions, and I'm not going to disagree with that. However, when I talk about accountability, if they appoint a board that's not elected officials, your vote does not count then what those officials decide to do with this nonpartisan redistricting. They're going to choose it. They're not elected by us. I'm just afraid that that's what's going to happen if something like this does happen. It always ends up in court. I think that was mentioned by Supervisor Jacobson, that no matter what, even if it's a nonpartisan redistricting commission, somebody's going to like it, somebody's not going to like it, it's going to end up in court. So I do believe that we need to contact our state legislatures and tell them to work on something that is better than what we have, but I don't think this resolution covers that. It sounds good, and it's hard to vote against it on just the words that are in the resolution. However, like I said, I don't think there's any accountability, and I don't think your vote's going to count with this. So unfortunately, I'm not going to support it, and I may catch some, I may get some comments, but I do believe that, and I do believe that we do need fair maps, but this resolution doesn't do that. Thank you.
Supervisor Stark is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, like probably everybody else on the board, did receive a lot of emails from people that were in support of it. But I also received emails, but more importantly, not more importantly, but equally, I received more calls, direct calls from constituents that said that they were concerned about this. They said that they were skeptical as to who would be appointed to this commission, if you will, or committee to put this together. And everyone is in agreement that, they want to have their vote count. They want reasonable processes for that. But, as we kind of know, there's no way to really guarantee that. What happens in the legislature depends in large part on who's got the controlling, number of legislators, et cetera. But also, it was raised to me, and I think back to, issues that were hot button issues back. I'm old enough to have been in the period of protests and what have you in the 60s and the 70s, and I was on both sides of some of those. But at the end of the day, what somebody remarked to me that I think has probably, not probably, it kind of made me think that they said, you 38 people can get together and you can send a resolution that comes from you and this county, and they can look at that. And one person said, I'm sure right now the legislature and WCA and whatever isn't waiting to hear from Marathon County before they vote for or against this process. And secondarily, they said, you do more by encouraging every single one of the people that is in favor of the heart of this resolution, which I believe in the heart of this resolution. If they all sent an individual letter and or an email, they would crash the servers in Madison, and that would get much more attention than one letter or resolution from 38 people saying they're speaking for the county, when in fact, I can't honestly say that I'm speaking for everyone in the county when I would to vote yes, because I had a fair number of people that were not in favor of it. So that being said, as hard as it is, I agree with many of the statements made by those that cannot support this resolution. Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Zhang is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, first and foremost, I would like to use this opportunity to thank my fellow colleagues for being able to deliberate on this resolution in a civil and respectful manner. I also want to thank all the individuals for the remarks and all the constituents for their letters and the emails. In addition, I also want to thank Supervisor Harris and Supervisor Mass for bringing this resolution to the county board for discussion. However, I want to remind the board here that the single most powerful power, or I guess right, that was granted to the people who lives in the United States here is the ability to vote for their representatives. And as many of you know, I am a child of a refugee who braved the jungle of Laos, of communist Laos, and came to the United States under the pursuing the idea of freedom and democracy. Today, my parents continue to exercise that vote, or the right to vote, with the understanding that their vote would not be jeopardized or interfered with, and whoever they vote for would be their representative. That their vote would not be altered or interfered with in any other way. Now, as Supervisor Harris mentioned, this system is not working very well, and the main point of this resolution here is to encourage to call for a nonpartisan path or system to be developed in order to ensure that everyone's vote is crucial and is able to be accounted for. The ability to vote for each citizen and the ability for each citizen to vote for their representative is crucial to the foundation of our democracy. A challenge to the ability to, or interference of this ability to vote is a challenge to the foundation of this democracy. And in the last few days, I've heard from my constituents, and I have only one individual who spoke against this resolution. And even though that individual spoke against this resolution, they were not able to clearly identify why they were against this resolution. Now, the board in the past has passed multiple resolutions calling on our state leaders to act upon certain issues, such as the resolution calling on our state officials to provide the proper funding to fund our assistant district attorneys. And in addition, we even passed resolutions calling on our state legislators to provide proper funds to take care of our roads. Many of my colleagues today express that we should continue to urge our constituents to write letters and call our legislators, but there is nothing that says that we cannot do both. There is nothing that states that we cannot urge our constituents or pass a resolution at a local governmental entity level. Let's continue to be a leader. Let's be accountable, and I urge my fellow colleagues to vote in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Any other supervisors? Before we return to supervisors who have had a first opportunity to speak. Supervisor Jacobson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to rehash a lot of my comments from both the executive committee and last Thursday. I hope you had an opportunity to listen to those, and I'm not going to reiterate those. The one point I do want to keep coming back to is that it's set out in the Constitution that there are two bodies who need to work on apportioning districts, the legislature, the executive branch. If those two butt heads, which often happens, we need to go to court, and that's why we have a third branch of government, which is the Wisconsin Supreme Court, or if you think there's been a federal constitutional violation of your right to vote, you can take it to federal court. And I think we need to have confidence. If we don't have confidence in the legislature or the governor, that's fine. but I think we need to have some confidence in our court system that's set up to deal with it. There's 3 branches of government: the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. The Marathon County Board isn't any one of them in this situation. So I would hope that we would please think about that when we vote tonight on this, and remember that this is not our fight. Thank you.
Any other discussion, any other supervisors before we start returning to supervisors who've had one opportunity to speak? Okay, next I have Supervisor Johnson and then Supervisor Krause. Hold it for.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Supervisor Langenhan, Supervisor Stark. I do agree with them that this would be better coming from the voting public in the form of a referendum. I would have preferred to see it go that way so the folks in this county can have a direct say. It's a system we already have set up that doesn't require them to send letters or emails. They're going to the ballot box anyway, and they can voice their support or non-support there. And I agree that would carry more weight than the decision of 38 supervisors. So I think maybe we'll, if this does not pass, maybe we have to look at bringing it back as a resolution to hold a referendum and let the people say, not us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Krause is next.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to comment on the slides that we have in our packet, two slides. And one of them says gerrymandering is named after Eldridge Gerry, governor of Massachusetts in 1812, who created a district in Boston in the shape of a salamander to favor his party. And it says political parties have since used this tactic across the United States. And then the other slide says the Eldridge history of redistricting in Wisconsin. It points out the gerrymandering that has occurred in both parties. In 1981, 1991, and 2001, there was a partisan gridlock. Bipartisan lack of cooperation resulted in the legislature being unable to do their redistricting job, and federal judges had to draw the maps. In 2009, the Democrats controlled the legislature and reviewed and could have passed nonpartisan redistricting, but did not. 2011, the Republicans gained control of the legislature and governorship, so after a new census, they logically draw the maps in their favor. 2020, Wisconsin takes a new census. So what I am hearing from some people here is that there is a fear that even though 51, and maybe ours will be the 52nd county in Wisconsin that is going to send this resolution to Madison about we want fair maps and redistricting, fair redistricting, that there is some fear that even though we do this, there still may be unfair maps, one favoring the Democrats or one favoring the Republicans, no matter what our counties and our representatives of our constituents want. So I would say, well, we have no control over that. That is true. It could go for the Democrats, it could go for the Republicans. But what we're asking for is not for it to go for the Democrats or for the Republicans. What we're asking for is that it will be nonpartisan. And of course, this is out of our control. That's in somebody else's ballgame. But the fact that this is what we want, we are making our voices heard. And I think that's what's important. Thank you.
Supervisor Dickinson is next.
Just one comment on the resolutions regarding funding. I would generally support those because the funding decisions made at the state would be directly affecting us at the county level. And so we would be asking these questions of the state so that we could take care of things here at the county level. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Supervisor Dickinson, you still had your hand up on the screen. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Beestrom.
Yes.
Boots.
No.
Book. No. Butke.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Seiler.
Aye.
Conway.
Yes.
Dickinson.
No.
Drebeck.
No.
Pfeifferich.
No.
Fisher.
Yes.
Gaber.
No.
Gibbs.
No.
Gonnering.
Yes.
Gums. Harris.
Yes.
Jacobson.
No.
Johnson.
Aye.
Krause.
Yes.
Lamont.
No.
Longenhan.
No.
Leahy.
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
Mask.
Yes.
McEwen.
No.
Oberbeck.
Yes.
Opal.
Yes.
Robinson.
Aye.
Rosenberg.
Yes.
Schley.
Nay.
Supervisor Schley, could you repeat that, please?
No.
Thank you. Seefelt.
No.
Soybert.
No.
Stark.
No.
Van Cray.
Yes.
Vol. Wagner. Zhang.
Yes.
Gums. Thank you.
The motion carries 19 to 17. Moving on to announcements and/or requests.
Chair
Super-
Gibbs, request to speak.
I got Supervisor Christensen first.
Yes, I just want to make an announcement. This Thursday night is the combined East and West Towns Association meeting in Marathon at Rib River Ballroom. The meeting is at 7 o'clock and, I'm sorry, lunch is at 7 and meeting is at 7:30. Thank you.
Supervisor Boots is next.
Thank you, Chair Gibbs. First, I would like to say I appreciate the decision the Wausau School Board was passed this Monday night. Due to COVID-19, we're all trying to do the best we can with resources we have. This being said, I have some concerns. Virtual schooling sounds great in theory, but the reality is our county does not have the infrastructure required to give all our kids the tools they need to do virtual learning successfully. I can tell you the rural community's internet capabilities are dismal at best. Last year, rural parents were instructed to go to nearby schools and use the hotspots set up there if they had issues with their internet. This is not a viable long-term, better yet, even a short-term solution to student learning. Requiring parents to drive their kids to a nearby school to do homework in the car is not a solution. Of the 8,149 kids enrolled in the Wausau School District, I would like to see how many parents are on satellite internet, better yet, have internet at all. I'm aware free internet has offered to parents and students in certain areas last year. This, however, does not address the rural areas at all, period. I challenge a statement by Wausau School District staff saying that they are more than well suited to meet the needs of staff and students. Staff may be, students, I am not so sure. My goal here is not to throw people under a bus. In fact, it's just the opposite. I would like to request the county board engage in conversations with the Wausau School Board to offer assistance in helping rural areas with
Supervisor Boots, we're at your...
Okay, broadband task force. It is our duty as county representatives to make sure all
Supervisor
kids are
Boots,
given
we're
the
at your
same
time limit.
regardless of DRL applicable location. I I respect the 30 seconds. Thank you. I'm not that fast. Sorry, Chair.
Any other announcements?
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Lamont.
Hi. Since I'm on WebEx, I don't always hear how people vote in present. Is it possible for the clerk to repeat the answers like they do on TV for the House of Representatives or Congress?
Are you requesting that vote record now?
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like,
In the future. Thank you.
She'll say Bruce Lamont, and I say yes.
Okay.
Lamont votes yes. Then you go to the next one. And because I can't hear what people are voting there.
Thank you. We will, that will definitely be future taken care of. I do have three announcements. The WCA annual conference for September has been postponed. So any of you that had registered for the WCA annual conference in September, the WCA Executive Committee met on Monday and moved to postpone the conference at this time, and we'll take it up as time permits or as the situation around the county and the state provides. The other thing that WCA has out there, they have released a forward analytics tool, and that tool is a tool that provides interaction on the COVID virus and the impact and the number of cases, the number of active cases, not just necessarily the total number of cases, but the current number of active cases. And that tool you can also utilize to compare Marathon County to any other county in the state. All 72 counties are in there. That tool is also going to be updated on a weekly basis. You can look and see the trends at where we're at and what is happening. The other thing, other announcement I have is the WCA task force has in the process of finalizing its information and policy guidelines and recommendations as it pertains to if a county chooses to take up an ordinance or authorize the allowance of the health officer to issue orders. They are in the final stages of working on that. They met Monday. They have another meeting scheduled for Thursday. Their hope was that they were going to finalize that group of information and group of guidelines. Again, it is not going to be a stamp ordinance or anything like that. It is going to be things that if you're going to look at an ordinance, things that you must consider, things as far as criteria, that type of stuff will all be in those guidelines when they're coming out. They're hoping to release them possibly as early as Friday. But at worst, if they run into some issues, it may be the first part of next week. Those are all the announcements I have. Any other announcements? Supervisor Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad Supervisor Boots brought up broadband because yesterday there was a resolution that was introduced to the Wausau School District from our president, Tricia Zunger, about a broadband resolution being taken to WASB, which is the Wisconsin Association School Board, to be voted on. So broadband is very important to the Wausau School District, and I think we would make a great partner in being with the county on broadband. So just letting Supervisor Boots know that. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Seeing none, I will take the famous number 16 Motion by Supervisor Rosenberg and seconded by Supervisor Johnson to adjourn. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We stand adjourned.